All right, so this is a bit of a UX review of the Lightning integration that Kraken made some months ago. This is the first screen you kind of land on when you go into Kraken. You go deposit or draw and go Bitcoin. You get a screen like this now. The addition that I'm talking about is now you can deposit and withdraw with the Lightning network, which is a second layer Bitcoin network that allows cheap, fast payments. So getting into the UX of it, the first thing that really stood out to me when I landed on this page is it really doesn't highlight the benefits of why you would use one over the other. That should be the first thing that's really communicated to users. Why would the user want to use the Bitcoin network over the Lightning network and vice versa? It's really just not explained here at all. Um, Even the copy is pretty ambiguous and it actually kind of adds confusion and makes it even more complicated to kind of deposit and withdraw. Previously, you only had to deposit with on chain, but I could actually see this addition making it even more confusing to do that because it says Bitcoin network, standard blockchain protocol. Sounds a bit ambiguous, some weird jargony kind of terms that could confuse a lot of people. Standard blockchain protocol really doesn't resonate much at all with me. Uh, as well, new channel based protocol sounds pretty ambiguous. That doesn't really make sense what it is. Rather, it should probably simplify these labels and the copy underneath them. You could just say this is Lightning rather than Lightning Network because it kind of makes it sound like there's two networks, and they could, even though that is the technical accurate uh, way to kind of talk about these things, it kind of makes it sound like there could potentially be two different kinds of Bitcoin. Uh, that's a bit of an edge case, but is a possibility for people who are pretty naive about this stuff. Um, and yeah, you could just call this on chain. I think on chain's a bit more broadly used in Bitcoin wallets. So when people are sending Bitcoin from their wallet to Kraken, their wallet is probably using on chain terminology uh, rather than Bitcoin network, which is a little bit confusing. So the copy underneath, like you really should be highlighting the benefits of both of these. Maybe you could say this is like a more widely adopted standard kind of way to pay. This is a cheap, fast option that's not as widely supported, and you need to have a list of wallets that do support that. That's also something that Kraken may want to do with this Lightning integration. Is when you click on Lightning Network, which we'll get to in a little bit, you might want to actually have a page that lists some wallets that people can use to deposit with Lightning. I think Kraken could do a lot more to kind of educate people about Lightning. It's great that you guys have integrated it, but yeah, just kind of guide people and be like, hey, look, this is because if people read, yeah, this is cheaper and it's faster, they could be like, oh, cool, I want to do that. But then there isn't really much info as to how to do that, and kind of just guiding them to a wallet should suffice. Just some minor nits as well on this page before I go. I'll just center this copy, just kind of line it with this. Also, on the other deposit and withdrawal screens, most of the copy is centered. Just makes it look a bit more consistent. As well, this should be a primary field button. Also, like on other, like I said just before, on other withdraw and deposit pages, this is a primary field blue button. Not too sure why it isn't here. That is the only primary action you can take here. So yeah, just some small nits there. So when you click deposit address, you go to a page like this. There's not a whole lot I'm going to go over here. By the way, I'm just quickly going over the on-chain stuff because there's a bit of overlap with the Lightning stuff. So there's a bit of a review on both of those aspects of this kind of feature. So the first thing is these don't use BIP21 URIs, which they should. It just makes it way easier when you scan this. It automatically opens it in a Bitcoin wallet. As well, it'll make it sets the stage for when or if Kraken gets to the point they want to use unified QR codes for deposits and withdrawals or for deposits, where they can just generate one payment request and people can scan it and they can pay with Lightning or on chain. So yeah, you need BIP21 to do that. Um, I can provide a link in this Figma file for those who don't know much about it. So yeah, like using BIP21 would be good here for UX as well as unified QR codes. You could also uppercase this data, so it's a very minor thing. It just makes it a little bit easier to scan. Maybe there's people on old devices that need that, or they're on a small screen and the QR code isn't very easy to read. Everything else is reasonably good on this page. I think you could increase this copy and maybe a bit of the spacing and remove the lines. It's just a little bit small, doesn't really pop out. Um, and this is a big mistake. If you deposit less than this, you can you lose your Bitcoin. So it really should be emphasized some more. Maybe adding some color to this red here just to make that stand out because like losing Bitcoin is a pretty big deal. And yeah, there's not a whole lot else I would kind of add here. You might want to also have this minimum under here, like so it's just in the context of the form. So like put depositing minimum may be lost, just put that under there. So when the user's reading it, they're reading it within the context there. So yeah, that's the on-chain part. So next we're going to go into deposit lightning. This is what happens when you click on the toggle and you go into lightning network. This is the thing that I really mostly wanted to focus on for this UX review. Just a small nit to start is this copy, like I mentioned before, could be bigger, a bit more spacing just to make it clearer. And the first thing that was pretty confusing to me was this Sats toggle. It wasn't clear, like if I was entering Sats or Bitcoin. At the moment, this is actually set for Bitcoin, and if you select that, it actually makes you enter Sats. So you're entering Sats in here. The first thing I did when I went on this page, I tried to enter a Sats amount, and it gave me an error, which because I obviously was trying to send like 1,000 Bitcoin, which I was trying to type in 1,000 Sats. Wasn't super clear how this toggle worked. It would be better to just make that a little bit more clear. I'd also suggest maybe adding a fiat option that also broadly goes to on-chain and Lightning. It would be good to have users let deposit in their fiat currency. Maybe they don't want to enter or deposit with a uh, Sats or Bitcoin. So yeah, you could have like a little toggle and just like tap it and it kind of switches between them and just make that a bit more clear. And then just some other nits as well. The Lightning minimum deposit, I'm not too sure why it's 0.00001. Could be smaller, could potentially be nothing. But I presume there's some business logic as to why that is. But um, I think just having no minimum deposit would really highlight the benefits of Lightning to users. Like if they could send one sat to Kraken, they'd be like, "Oh, cool! Send one sat. That's pretty cool." And it kind of highlights the importance of it. As well, when it says start a Lightning request, probably just say generate a Lightning request so it matches the call to action. Start a Lightning request sounds like you're going to start some weird process, which you are kind of, but it just probably would be clearer to match this copy with that. And then, yeah, I think this learn more copy with this link, which is a good page by Kraken's learning page, which explains Bitcoin and Lightning. I feel like you could maybe also have that on the Bitcoin network page as well, or have like a tooltip here in the card here that kind of links to that, just so people, like I mentioned at the start, when people land on this page, they can really go dive into the benefits and the trade-offs of both. Because at the moment, you just land on it and you're like pretty in the dark about what it is and what's going on, unless you kind of know what it is. But yeah, I guess the education, the big point I'm trying to get across is more could be done in that regard. So yeah, like I mentioned before, I tried to enter 1,000 sats. It gave me an error. So you make this clearer, prevent users having this error. Um, and then yeah, when you select sats, this is what it looks like. So it's a little bit, I guess once I did it, I kind of got it, but yeah, it was a bit confusing at first. So making that a bit more clear would be good. So going along, I've generated a request here, an invoice to send a lightning payment or lightning deposit to Kraken. I think the expiration could be like in red or something. Just highlight that a bit more and maybe have it tick in live time just to make it clear that like, this is going to expire soon. This also says generate new address, even though like on the previous page, it used the generate deposit request term. So it should probably say generate new request, just to be clear with that copy. As well, you can uppercase this data here just to make the QR codes a little bit smaller because these can get quite big, just for those more low-end phones that might not be able to scan that. As well, like the no confirmation required could kind of like, I reckon you could emphasize that a little bit more, maybe have it more towards the top. I really think that feature should be highlighted. Really, the whole kind of theme I'm getting at is you really should be communicating the benefits and trade-offs of why you'd use Bitcoin Network over Lightning Network. And this is doing that, but it's just kind of doing it a bit too subtly, I think. I think it should be more on the user's face to make it super clear as to why they'll do one or the other. Because at the end of the day, you are saving people Bitcoin by having them use Lightning and time too, which is valuable, particularly for trading. Maybe you want to like deposit and do trades quickly when the price is going up or down. So Lightning is really beneficial for that for users and as well for the exchange. It makes people trade more, so you get more fees, etc. So going across, this is what an expired invoice looks like. Uh, I think if it's expired, this QR code should probably move away, and I think this should just probably be deleted and removed from the address list because it's completely unusable. Like if you're having expired invoice. I don't know why the QR code should be showing this. Someone could try to scan that. And it's expired, so it won't do anything. I think when it expires, you should just get maybe a banner notification that looks kind of like this thing that just says this invoice or this request expired. You should generate a new one and just have like a call to action that lets the user generate a new one, maybe with the same input field here filled in, or they can enter a new amount. And yeah, or another thing you could do is have a new invoice automatically generate when you sorry, I'll just go back. Have a new invoice automatically generate with the same amount if it gets to the expiration time. Expiration times are good because you obviously don't want the volatility, or you guys don't want to be exposed to the volatility, you guys being Kraken. So yeah, maybe having it automatically generate just a new one when that kind of timeline expires could be something you guys could look into. So going across, do the deposit. I did a deposit and it gave me a success. It just gave, like, when I did the deposit, it just kind of gave a little banner at the top of the screen. I don't have it here, but it was a little bit hidden away. It would be good to maybe have like a modal pop up in the middle just to know that I sent it. Also, it'd be cool with Lightning if you paid the request or the invoice, and the modal popped up straight away, because that would really kind of, again, like I've been talking about, emphasize the speed of Lightning. Like you'd scan the QR code, you'd type pay in your wallet, and you go boom, and you'd have like a nice modal pop up. It's also just a nice feedback thing to give some users some feedback as the action they take has been completed successfully. Because yeah, the banner at the top just really was a little bit ambiguous. You could also just have something maybe over here that says like your invoice was received and paid, etc. But you do have this over here. But yeah, so now I've deposited 1,000 sats into Kraken. And now we're going to go into withdraw on chain. So let me just briefly get my notes up. So some minor nits here. Most of the stuff here I've kind of covered before, but it's just like centering the text, making this call to action as well. Like this could be add withdrawal address, which is used later in this flow. So I don't know why you just say add Bitcoin address and then add withdrawal request later. I think it should be one or the other, but the point is, yeah, make that consistent. Um, Another thing as well, I think a big thing you could do with withdrawal for Bitcoin and Lightning is when you land on this page, I think you could just have a form automatically there rather than having to add Bitcoin address and make user take all these actions. You could just have a form that lets the user paste an address in, and that form should also straight away let the user know if that address is valid. Because at the moment you have to enter an address and then try to add it, and it will tell you if it's valid or not. I think it should just automatically detect if it's valid or not. For example, Kraken doesn't support Taproot yet, so if you try to enter a Taproot address and then click add, it gives you an error, which I'll show shortly. But yeah, if you enter an address in a form, it should automatically give that error as soon as it's entered. But yeah, having a form would just skip the user having to take all these unnecessary steps. Like you just have a form with address, maybe an amount, stuff like that. And yeah, just jump the user straight into the user flow rather than having to take these extra steps, which are unnecessary. Also, when you do this flow, which I'll get into soon, you have to confirm the address with an email, and then you have to confirm the withdrawal with another email. If you just had one form and you put the address in, put the amount in, and then clicked withdraw, and it sent an email and you confirmed, it would just save a lot of time, make the whole flow a lot easier instead of having to do two confirmations for one withdrawal. It's just a lot of friction there for the user. Just really limiting that. That applies to both Bitcoin and Lightning, having the form kind of aspect, which I'll kind of bring up again when I get through this flow. So here I'm adding a script address. So add withdrawal address, like I said before, it says add Bitcoin address down here, add withdrawal address. Using one or the other should be consistent, but not two different terms. Just makes it that little bit confusing. Going across as well, a big thing that I would find beneficial here is if there's a camera option. I'm on a computer right now, like a desktop. A lot of people use laptops which have cameras. I have a webcam. It would be good if you had a camera option that you click here and you could just scan a QR code straight off your phone and import one rather than having to copy it and email it to yourself or however you communicate it to your device to paste it in. I know Kraken has the camera integration for KYC stuff because I did that before I did this. So you could just have a camera icon here that you click and it uh, accesses your webcam, so you can quickly scan a QR code and import an address to make the flow a little bit quicker. So keep going across. So this is when I get the email to confirm the address. This goes back into this page. It says, please verify your new address. So going across, Quickly, like I mentioned before, with that confirmation email, you could have it so the confirmation of the address and the withdrawal done in the same email, just to prevent it doing for us. I presume they did that maybe for security reasons, but if someone can confirm the first email, they probably have access to the user email and they can probably easily confirm the second. So one is probably fine. Um, yeah, keep going ahead. This is kind of like a form. What I was kind of thinking of, you can have like an input for the address. So, like I mentioned before, you could land on withdrawal, and it could be a form here rather than the whole add address, which could be like a form like this. And you have the address part, a withdrawal amount, and a form similar to this. And you just kind of do that, and then click withdraw Bitcoin, and that would send you an email which confirms the address in the email as well as confirms the withdrawal. Um, and you could also have limits and stuff on that, like time limits or notifications if it's larger amounts, but that's a little bit out of the scope of what we're covering here. But this form is a little bit cluttered, I think, as well. Just a small nit there. You could, like I mentioned earlier, could increase the size of this copy and increase some spacing and remove those lines just to make it feel a little bit less cluttered. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the withdraw on-chain kind of feedback. So now we're going to the withdraw lightning, which is a little bit more of an extensive kind of flow. Pretty similar feedback what I was talking about earlier. Small nits. This should be a big blue call to action. Add withdrawal request. You could say add invoice. You could use invoice terminology here, but I guess that's kind of up to you guys. I don't think that's a big thing. Like I mentioned before, like a lot of wallets use that invoice terminology rather than just saying lightning. So yeah, I guess you guys would have to do some research to see what kind of terms most wallets use that you could use here just to make it easier for the users, but not a major thing. Uh, I like that you kind of explain what it is here a little bit. You could maybe put more emphasis on the benefits here, but you could also have the benefits listed under the copy on on this card. But highlighting the benefits here, I think, would also be beneficial. So that's like speed and fees. The withdrawal fee as well, like with zero sats, you should just say free. And I reckon you could highlight that with a color. Again, emphasize like Lightning is good to use and push people towards using that because they do get benefits by using it. Like cheaper, they get save Bitcoin and save time as well. So it would be cool to highlight that. Yeah, just say free and maybe highlight it green. Again, increase the copy and space here. I think it's a little bit of a small table, a little bit hard to read. So not a whole lot else to add there. So going across, I click add withdrawal request. Add withdrawal request. You have a label withdrawal request. You go next. So I'm doing a moon withdrawal. This is like a one for 1,000 sats. You go add withdrawal request. Sends an email similar to the on-chain stuff. Again, I think it would be easy if you just landed on the withdrawal page and it just had a form that looked like this one down here, which I'll go to next. And you just like were able to enter an invoice, an amount, description, and then you just click withdraw 10,500 sats, and it would send you the email and you confirm the invoice and the withdrawal amount just in the one step rather than doing in two. I think that just adds quite a bit of friction there, which is not entirely necessary. Also here it says verify new address, which everywhere else on this page uses withdrawal request. So it probably should be good. Please verify your new withdrawal request. Address is what's used for the Bitcoin network. So it just makes it that a little bit confusing. So going across at that. So in this case, I get a email that looks like this. Again, this also says withdrawal address, just a withdrawal request because this is for Lightning. Maybe also mention something here that you're using Lightning. Like it kind of sounds like you're just doing a normal on-chain withdrawal. I think this is exactly the same actually as the on-chain withdrawal. You should say withdrawal request confirmation and say like, yeah, you're requesting a withdrawal with Lightning from Kraken, etc. Like I mentioned before as well, if you did the form thing, you could say confirm X withdrawal to this address. You could list the address that you're using and have a button with the amount rather than doing this in two steps of confirming the address and then confirming the amount send. Just do it all in one. Would remove a lot of friction for users doing this. Again, yeah, this is the form that I think you could use and verify new address. So going across, again, this SATs toggle a little bit ambiguous. I mentioned that earlier, but that'd be good to make that a bit clearer. Going across as well, you can make this larger copy more spacing. This is pretty condensed and it's a bit messy. As well, I think if the user entered Sats or has Sats selected here, they could uh, Sats here instead of Bitcoin just to make it a little bit clearer. A lot of people who are dealing with Lightning deal in Sats rather than Bitcoin, so just keep that in mind when kind of dealing with Lightning stuff. So going across, so now doing the withdrawal, I actually did a withdrawal request or import an invoice that was uh, higher than it was actually an insufficient amount to withdraw, which was a bit weird because I think it was to do with the fee. Like I tried to withdraw the exact amount I had in my Kraken, and it said I couldn't because of fees. But then when actually doing a successful withdrawal, it actually says that there was no fees charged. So it's weird that it said that there was an insufficient amount. Like it's not clear if there is fee charged or there isn't. Pretty sure there isn't because I got the exact amount to my wallet. So yeah, that was weird that I couldn't withdraw the amount that I kind of wanted to. As well, I think once you've kind of made a payment, all of the invoice is in it like unable to be used. It shouldn't be showed here anymore. It should just be deleted and give the user an error saying the invoice you attempted to add was insufficient for the withdrawal or something along those lines, and have it removed rather than just having to show it here. Like it's not necessary. Like this invoice can't be used, so it shouldn't be shown here. This could also a few steps back when you entered the invoice and you did the email confirmation. That's really where you should be giving this error rather than going through doing the email and then coming back to Kraken and realizing that it's wrong and being like wasting all those steps and having to do it all over again with a new invoice. That just adds a lot of friction. um, I know there was like you had a waiting period for the invoice, which could be problematic. I think it confirmed or the payment withdrawal went through in like 2 minutes or so. I know some wallets use pretty short confirmation times, like Moon uses it 24 hours. So I was fine in this situation, but ones that use small ones, I could see maybe the payment failing. Sure, there's some business logic as to why there's a little bit of a time delay, but it could be quicker with Lightning. Lightning is pretty much almost instant payment, so uh, yeah, could look into that some more. Again, you don't need to, you shouldn't have to show this at all. I think once the withdrawal is initiated, you should remove this from the list and let's see here, and yeah, shouldn't be added again. If the withdrawal fails, the invoice is probably expired, so it should be removed. And if it's being initiated, invoices can only be paid once, so it should be removed as well. When you do the withdrawal Bitcoin, it should yeah, not show these details like this here. And yeah, so then you go across, and then once you do the transaction like this is a successful transaction. See how it says there's no fee, like I was mentioning before, but apparently I couldn't withdraw a certain amount because of fees, which is weird. It says no fee. You could just say free here as well instead of adding the numbers. This makes it a bit clearer. Also, because I was entering a Sats amount, this should be in Sats. And just a small nit as well on the copy spacing, a little bit condensed here, so you could tidy that up quite a bit. And yeah, like I said, this took about 2 minutes or so to approve. A little bit slower, but like substantially better than on chain, which can take up to an hour depositing with Kraken. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I did have some other notes about other stuff. So I have a Figma here with all these comments kind of laid out of pretty much everything I discuss. For anyone who wants to come dive into the comments and leave their own comments as well. Open to have other people jump into this Figma and give feedback. But yeah, like one thing that I didn't mock up design wise was could use unified QR codes. I know the support's not there yet, so it might not be yet, but ready yet. But adding BIP21 would be a good start. And then later on, you could just have one unified QR code. You generate that, and users can deposit with Lightning or on chain. Just make it super simple. There's also no Taproot support yet. Would be great if you guys had Taproot. I'm sure there's reasons as why you don't, but thought I would add that in there. Also, Lightning deposit and withdrawals aren't on Kraken Mobile yet. Not too sure why, but yeah, just wanted to kind of make a note of that. This has all been desktop focused. There also was some other error states as well that I kind of dove into with the withdrawal Lightning stuff. Um, I know this was like an invalid amount. This is what I was talking about before with the amount's too small, even though Apparently, there's no fees to withdraw. It didn't let me withdraw amount that apparently was too small to withdraw. So yeah, that was a bit weird there. And similar to before, like you probably don't need all these extra steps of confirming withdrawal requests and stuff like that. Oh yeah, another point here as well. If the invoice expires when you're doing a withdrawal, it should also just be removed from this. This form should just be cleared and it should go back to the default. And I don't know why expired invoices are being shown in this manage withdrawal requests section. Like this can't be used, so it should just be automatically deleted, um, or just at least have a label that says this is expired and can't be used. But yeah, that's pretty much my review on that. Let me know what you guys think.